can you pause the timer for an indefinite amount of time or start over if you mess up? Hi, and welcome to our very first YouTube office hours, where we answer the questions you dropped in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, I'm David from Vuma, an expert in hiring and AI from the MIT Media Lab, sharing with you the advice I wish I had when I was looking for a new position. Okay, we've got a question from Sarah. I have an interview like this coming up. What if I don't have an example of what they're asking me? Well, Sarah, this is actually a pretty common thing that happens, and we recommend prior to the interview, you list out different experiences you've had in your life, both professional and personal, and any lessons that you might see that they relate to. If you have those common interview questions about conflict or about times you've led a team or you've spoken up when you felt things were going the wrong direction. So write up that list beforehand of different things, different situations you've gone through so far in your life, either from college, university, personal life, in the office, ideally, if you can find some examples there, projects that have happened, interactions with managers, conflicts with colleagues that ended up working out better than expected. That list, when you revise it, will help you to draw on examples that are genuine, but in the moment. I think that's the real challenge here. It's not that we don't have examples from our day-to-day life. It's that when we get that question unexpectedly, it's really hard to draw on those examples if they're not fresh. So hopefully that helps you out, Sarah. Now, we absolutely love it when you hit subscribe, like, and ring that notification bell. Okay, we've got two questions here that are kind of similar. So first, we've got Hunter, who says, what happens if I finish my answer early? Do I need to speak for the entire time? And we have Life of Makeda, who says, do we need to take the entire time to answer the question? So Hunter, Makeda, this is interesting because the timer, much as it's a challenge to fit everything in on occasion, also it can be a challenge to fill out the entire space. Our advice is when you feel like your answer is complete, to end your answer to the question. So if it's a 60-second question and you're around the 45-second mark, let's summarize what we had to say and then just close it out confidently. It doesn't matter if you're ending at 52 seconds, 55 seconds, it's gonna be fine. So if you can end the timer early, just take the time, look into the camera for a few seconds, and cut it. Click that button that says stop. Think of common structures you could use to frame your question in a way you can do a time check as you're progressing. So if you say, these are the three things I really think made a difference when I was resolving this conflict with my fellow coworker. Now, we know we're going to do three things. So after we finish the first point, we'll have a general feeling if we're going a bit slow, a bit too fast, so we can add more context to the second and third points. Or if we've been going a bit too slow, we can really make the second and third points super snappy to get us closer to that time limit that we have. But of course, we never want to overshoot. Getting cut off halfway through a sentence, that really makes the performance seem weak. Okay, our next question is from Ice King Official, who asks, can he do his assessment on his phone? Or does he definitely need a PC? So yes, Ice King Official, you can usually do these one-way video assessments on either phone or on your PC, laptop, Mac. But mobile interview respondents often are doing their interview on the go, or they're in a crowded place. There's a lot of background noise. So it's not so much that the device matters, it's really about the environment. And a PC or laptop is generally more conducive to having a quiet environment where you've got rid of people, you've got rid of pets, and you've got rid of other problems that might be kind of taking up your time or distracting you. Whereas this idea of kind of doing it on a mobile phone, we can easily slip into doing our interview responses in scenarios which are not necessarily quiet, are not focused. And one of the worst things in online video interviews is often once you start, you can't stop. And there may not be retries for your particular company you're applying to. Trying to make sure that first time is the best time and that you'll be able to do it in one sitting with no interruptions. Generally, we find that laptops are better for that. Next question is from Melissa. She asks, can you pause the timer for an indefinite amount of time or start over if you mess up? Well, there are a lot of memes at the moment on the internet about people who swear when responding to a question after they mess up and then finding that they have no retries. That being said, some companies do have retries available. We just recommend that you don't assume that it's the case. Let's not prepare to use them. Let's prepare as if there was only this one chance to record, because sometimes that's just the way it'll be. In terms of pausing the timer, usually in a question, we can't pause. Once we click go, we're going. If there's no retries, this is our one shot. If we want to take breaks or kind of regroup, often there's places between answering questions where there's a screen which says continue or next. That can give us an opportunity to take a step back, breathe a little bit, and not have to answer the questions rapid fire, but take a few minutes, sip of water, coffee, tea, Red Bull, depending on how you're feeling, and then regroup, reset back into the next question. So we have a question here from Snow Chen that asked, does everybody get the same online interview questions? Well, Snow, the answer is no, but there can be quite a lot of similarities between different companies' interview questions and setups. Remember, a lot of companies use one-way video interviews as a kind of pre-filter for candidates who are applying. So we can expect, in general, quite a few of the questions are going to be based around, tell me about yourself, tell me about a time when. Behavioral interview questions that try and get a little bit of a deeper understanding about you that's beyond your resume or CV. However, we should never assume that those questions are going to be the same between companies, and some will have more technical questions, maybe mathematical questions, depending on the role or position that you're applying for. We could say that the time we invest in preparing for a particular set of questions is never really wasted, but we'll have to be cautious about assuming we're going to get the same questions every time, because that's not going to be the case. Okay, question here from Zinuf. SparkHire sucks. Can't get it to access my webcam no matter what I do. A lot of people have an issue in general with getting access to their video and microphone when they're doing a one-way video interview. It's important to be aware of some of the most common issues. I mean, the first thing, restart your computer, try again. Secondly, are there any other apps open that might be using your webcam, like Zoom, Google Hangouts, any kind of video chat, FaceTime, that might be active on your laptop that could be using your video? And that includes other browser tabs. Closing those other apps, restarting your computer generally sets you ahead. Well, next we got a question from Essa, which says, after the HireVue one-way video interview, how long does it take for someone to respond to me? It went well, it's been 6 days, and it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. A lot of people, after they complete the one-way video interview, are expecting a pretty quick response to their questions. And it can vary. It really depends on the company. As we know, like often we might submit applications and never hear anything back. But usually once we submit a one-way video interview, there'll be some response as to whether we've been progressed or we've been declined or we're pending. We should expect some response, but that time frame varies massively. Usually though, it can be often around 7 to 10 days where we should be expecting that response. Being more than 2 weeks, you could ask that first point of contact and say, hi, I recently submitted my HireVue video interview. Just wanted to check in and see what your thoughts might have been and to make sure it was received successfully, because it's been a couple of weeks since I submitted it. Okay, so here's another question from Tony and from JMWW5383. He says, this is so stressful, I just want to talk to someone. And Tony says, this is too much. I should send in my resume and then you give me training and I learn. That should be it. Well, Tony, JMW, that is true. We're noticing this balance of how candidates interact with companies changing over time, where job candidates are being asked to do more and more and more, and companies are giving less and less feedback. And that's the one-way video interview in a nutshell. Before, even if it was a virtual call on Zoom, you could figure out when you kind of dropped the ball, the interview went south, or those things you said that the interviewer really related to by seeing that feedback from them visually. You know, when did they smile a little when I said that, or kind of shake their head, lose interest, and start checking their watch for notifications? That is what's really missing here, and what a lot of candidates like yourselves jobs are finding alien and suffering from having to go through. Unfortunately, our outlook for the future is more of the same. Job candidates are starting to connect with each other more as they're going through the search process. Websites like Blind or Glassdoor, where job candidates are connecting with each other to understand more about the hiring process, about the terms of employment, the quality of employer. Even some job candidates are getting invites to one-way video interviews and saying, I don't really want to work for that kind of company. We're going to get through it, adapt to it, and find the best way to incorporate video in hiring without it being so awful for so many job candidates. If you have a question, drop it in the comments below or check out this other video on answering the most common interview questions.